Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the Personalize Every Interaction with Aspen Discovery webinar. We have a few members of the Aspen Discovery Bywater Solutions team here today to talk to you. The lovely Jordan will be giving you a presentation, and if you have any questions throughout the process, you can use the chat box or the Q&A box, and Bill and Cal and I will be monitoring as Jordan goes along, and we'll be able to pass those questions. And of course, as always, we'll have questions at the end. Jordan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Fields, and I am the Aspen Product Librarian. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And today we're going to be talking about personalizing every interaction with Aspen Discovery. And it was just so much fun to put this presentation together for you, because we are going to be just looking at all these different partner sites, all the different customizations that our libraries have done, and some personalizations that you can do with Aspen Discovery. So this is just going to be exciting. But we almost always start our webinars with the Aspen Discovery goals, and today we're going to be touching on most of those goals. So number one, maximize patron usage of all library materials. We'll be going over some customizations that you can use to perhaps surface materials relevant to particular groups of patrons so that Aspen is really personalized to them. We're not going to do too much with the second goal because, of course, Aspen does integrate with the ILS and all e-content providers. But with number three, making it easy for patrons to use Aspen, we will definitely be touching on that. And you'll be seeing how, depending on who you are and what, how old you are, what languages you speak, we'll be making Aspen a little bit easier for you. And then finally, make it easy for library administrators to customize and maintain Aspen. We don't typically show a lot of the administrative side of Aspen today, but I will be showing you a few fun things that I think you'll be excited to see for Aspen administrators. Before we get started looking at all of the different sites, I do want to do a quickly go over maybe the difference between customization and personalization. We're going to be starting today talking about what you can do to make Aspen look and feel and have the branding for your library. So really high at that library branding level, the customization. Then we're going to go into customization for your user communities. Like I said earlier, that might be languages that they speak, that might be ages, that might be events, or even specific materials that certain user groups might want. And then we'll be diving into personalization, what we can do at the individual patron level so that when a patron logs into Aspen, it is their Aspen. So enough about that. Let's go directly into our partner example sites. So I'd like to start with one of my favorite sites that has launched over the past few months. I mean, they're all beautiful. Like, what can I say? I don't really have favorites, but I do really like this one. It's Darien Library. They have some really clean colors that they've chosen, and all of the colors are customizable in Aspen. So they've chosen kind of subtle differences here. We also have a customizable menu bar up here, so you can add links, many, a few, one, and all of these little icons here. You can choose the icons and the links that represent your library. Now, Darien went a little step further, and they added some little tiny surprises for their patrons. And this is just kind of that pop that when you see it the first time kind of gets you excited. And one of those is when you hover over one of these menu links, you get these little rainbows. And again, it's just a well-designed site, all customized within Aspen Discovery. One more thing that they did for their browse categories down here, they used custom CSS to create these beautiful floating covers. You can see just a little bit of a shadow behind them, and they just almost come to life on the screen. So that's how Darien Library customized the overall look and feel of Aspen for their patrons. Next, we have NCW libraries. I really like this library. It has a lot of energy. You can see with the pattern that they've added in the background, this matches their website. It's really fun. There's the color at the top. They mimicked that with, the color at the bottom, a big logo down here. The footer is also completely customizable. Another thing that they added is a custom font. So if you look at the way this font is and how even if you scroll over these, it's just really fun, has a lot of energy to it. So that's a different example of how you can kind of give a completely different look and feel by customizing the colors, the background in Aspen Discovery. And one more thing to point out, they chose to have fewer menu links. They just have this one browse the catalog link that will bring you back to this browse category page. The next one that I wanted to show you is San Luis Obispo. This is much more muted in tone. And when I think about where San Luis Obispo is on the beach in California, you really see these beachy colors here. So they chose tans, just like the sand, blue, a lot like the ocean, which again reflects their community. But what I like here is with this color combination, the book covers really stand out. So the collections really come to life off the page and draw your eye to them. Another thing that they call themselves Slow. Another thing that Slow did was they added these ratings down here to the book covers. And as we'll see later, when we get into personalization, the ability for your patrons to rate, that's what, when they rate titles, that's what drives the recommendation. So they're really making that easy for the patrons to get right in and access those recommendations. The last one I want to show you with look and feel is McKinney, Texas. So they went a little bit of a different route. They have an image as part of their header. And this image they switch out seasonally. So it's fun. It changes with the seasons. And it's just a really, really slick way to kind of reflect the community in the catalog. I'm going to get, oops, excuse me. Okay, next. I want to show you how you do some of these customizations within Aspen Discovery. So this is kind of our demo site. You can see the colors here, logos. This is what we've set up. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when we customize this. So this is a theme. And just like in any website where you're uploading a logo or you're uploading even just your profile picture, you have ways to upload the different logo sizes that we need. But then what I really like is our color pickers. You can customize every single color, almost every single color separately in Aspen. And then when we're talking about customizing to make sure we meet our community needs, we also have this ratio over here. This is for accessibility. As long as your contrast is appropriate when you're choosing colors, this will be green. It will be yellow when it's borderline or when it doesn't meet all of the guidelines, but some of the guidelines, and then it will turn red when it's not accessible. So as you're choosing these colors, as you're customizing Aspen, we know that it's going to be, it'll be accessible for everyone. But look at the amount of control that you have with all of those colors. You have another, you can select a footer image. We have more colors. When we get down into fonts, we have a number of fonts that are available for you to select from, but you can also upload your own fonts, both for the heading and for the body. For some of the libraries that did a little bit more, you have a CSS box here where you can add custom CSS. And then I'm just going to show you, you can keep going with the colors. You have lots and lots of control for browse categories. We do have some documentation that tells you where each of these colors apply, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the depth of customization that you can use for colors. Going all the way back up here to the top with these menu links, these little icons, those are also built into Aspen. Here are, if you can't find an icon here that works for you, I would question what you're putting as a menu link because we have so many different icons, and these are the font awesome icons that are built into Aspen. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is customizing language. So within libraries, we tend to call things by different names. So one that always comes to mind for me is when you freeze a book, is it frozen? Is it suspended? What are the words that your library uses? Aspen includes a built-in translation mode that will let you translate to any of the languages that you want to support in Aspen, but it will also let you translate any English language word in Aspen. So I'm going to show you that. I'm just going to click into a new book search. And then I am an admin user that has permission to do translation. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start Translation Mode. Now over here on this facet, I have audience. This audience facet maybe for my community, I don't think audience. When I think age, I think age. So if I wanted to change this audience to age, I just have to click on that green box. Oops, excuse me. Switch it to age and then say update translation. And then it translates right to age right there. I'm going to translate that one back. And that is how you can change any of these words with the green boxes. And it's throughout Aspen. We have libraries that have done full Spanish translations. You can even, if you choose to, if you set it up this way, translate the words within a facet. And if you want to see how that works for Spanish, you would just change it to Spanish up here. And then notice some of these red boxes. These boxes say, okay, for Spanish, you have not yet translated that word from the default. So that is how you can completely customize translations in English and any language within Aspen to meet your exact community's needs. Okay, next, I'm going to exit translation mode. Now we're going to go a level deeper. So we've been talking about how we can customize for all of our users across all of Aspen, but I want to take it down to maybe a couple of different specific groups that you might want to do something special for. So McKinney, Texas, we already looked at their site, but they were one of our first to do a kids catalog. So within their header here, they have customized a user interface of Aspen specifically for kids. And they can have different colors. They can have a different header up here. They can get very granular with the type of browse categories they have. So not only is it middle grade fiction, but it's middle grade sci-fi. And then you have all of the examples in here, or middle grade mystery for their browse categories. So again, looking specifically at an age group and how can we meet their needs. Now you don't have to go this in depth. Maybe your smaller library don't really want to support two different user interfaces for the same library. You can just go with the browse category route. So here's an example of Jackson County. They have Oregon Battle of the Books, and then they're using these sub-browse categories to get at the different age groups. So offering these customizations for the different age groups for the Oregon Battle of the Books. Another way that we've talked about customizing, I showed you how to do that translation. Most of our libraries only have two languages, so they have something like English and Spanish up here, but you can add more than two. So I wanted to show you an example of a library, the Boynton Beach City Library, that has actually four that they're working on. They're not all complete translations, but they're getting pretty close and certainly good for libraries to use, but you can use this language selector to select from the four. We also have a library, and this one isn't live yet, so I'm not able to share it with you, but that is designing a special interface for their deaf and hard of hearing. So if you're paying attention to the Aspen community, watch, I hope that library shares when it's ready, but that's another really great example of a community that you can reach by customizing Aspen. You can also customize Aspen around specific collections, or in this case, specific events. So I really love here how the Round Rock Public Library, they took their summer reading characters, and normally their header up here is just the blue header, but they took the summer reading characters, put them on the header, and that kind of ties in the events that are happening in the library right now. And that carries down here into their browse categories. So they have celebrating Juneteenth as a browse category, as well as their specific summer reading. So looking at, this is kind of a combination of both an event and an age group. I'm gonna bring you back to Darien Public Library because I saw this one that they did and I'm like, that's a really good way to promote events without it kind of being obvious that they're promoting events. They did a browse category for author visits in 2022. So all of the books here that are listed, the authors of these titles are going to speak at the library. And I thought that was a great use of the browse categories. Now, thinking about customizing to meet users' needs that are maybe specifically trying to learn something. I like the colors, this one too. I love how you can see the colors in the banner and those tie into the colors here and then the building. Sorry, just have to say it whenever I love one of these interfaces. But so let's say I am a patron of this library and I want to learn Spanish. So what I think when I first come to the homepage is I'm just going to type in Spanish. Now, of course, we're going to get books that have Spanish in the title or that maybe are about learning Spanish, but they have used our placards to customize this search so that when someone is searching for a language, they immediately get the top resource for someone that the library has to offer for someone learning Spanish. So they get this transparent language online and learn a new language today. So I love that use of placards for customizing the catalog. Now, libraries also have some special collections that are sometimes difficult to get the word out about. Like how do you let people know that you maybe have a library of things or some of these other collections? So libraries also use browse categories to upload custom covers to Aspen and then highlight their library of things. So here you can see the library of things from Salina Public Library. And then I have one more. We have the Glen Ellen Public Library, which is part of the SWAN Consortium in Illinois. And they have a browse category for all of their American Girl dolls, which is, again, just a way to highlight unique collections to make sure that users can connect with them. So that is all about customization of Aspen Discovery. Again, starting at the high level with colors and then using some of the different features of Aspen to highlight events, collections, or even things for specific age groups for your users. So let's dig in a little bit to personalization. I'm going to go back to Aspen Model. And if you don't know anything about Aspen, I'm still signed in as an administrator here. A little bit off topic, but we do have a feature that lets you masquerade as another user. So I'm going to masquerade as my patron account. And what this does is just let me see Aspen as if I were this person. So now I'm into my account. I'm going to go to my homepage here. And what we start to get, if you set up Aspen this way, is you can get a specialized recommendation list. Again, this is going to be different for every patron, depending on what that patron has recommended or has, rated. So a patron would go in and rate a title. And then based on the titles that they have rated highly, they get these specialized list of recommended for you. So I have a bunch of different kinds of books rated here, some vegan desserts. I did some cycling books, but we can even go ahead. I can show you how this works. So let's look for Harry Potter. And I'm logged in. I can go ahead and rate this title. So again, it's only going to give you recommendations based on your highest ratings. If you're saying you don't like it, we are of course not going to recommend the books that you don't like. Now, if I go back here, and if I go back to recommended for you, you're going to start to see, and understandably with Harry Potter, I chose that one because it's easy to see some of the recommendations here. We're not going to recommend titles that you've seen before. You can even say there are I don't want to see that title. We have the same recommended for you right here. So if you don't have it in the browse category, you can also see it on the account page. But here's a list of all the titles that I've rated. And then if I'm getting a recommendation I don't like for whatever reason, there was a Daniel Steele, I don't want that one, I can click don't recommend. So then that browse category and those recommendations that happen throughout the catalog are really personalized to me. We have a couple of other personalized browse categories. One of them is based off of saved searches. So I have a couple of saved searches right here. And this is useful for your patrons that come to the library and are always kind of wanting to do the same search, or especially if they want to stay up to date on a specific author. So for this one, I've done a saved search for Isabel Allende, sorted it by the most recent ones. So the most recent title at the top, if she comes out with a new book, this browse category will automatically update for me and show me that new book. I have another one of my saved browse categories here. This is great for your patrons that want to watch your streaming online movies. So this is a saved search for movies that are streaming online now. And it's really easy to kind of stay up to date or see new things with these saved searches. We also have a patrons lists. So I've created a couple of lists. One of them is just these vegan cookbooks that look good to me, so I can come back and get these later. I have another one, say I'm going on vacation to California. I can come in here and start to track the books that I might want to use for that. One of my favorite uses for this, I can go to these new books. So if any of these, let's say, look good to me, I don't know, let's say this one. I can add it to a list. I can create a new list and call it read later or check out later. Close, and let's pick one more. This one looks good. Add to list. It's going to remember that last list. Save to list. So my lists, then I have my read later list and those two titles right here. Now, there are other ways that Aspen can be personalized to the, to the individual user. One of those is in how you are notified. So there's a few caveats with this one, I will warn you. This one is highly dependent on your ILS, and then your ILS, the settings within your ILS. So we are connected to a Koha ILS right now that lets me update certain things. So I can update what messages I get, whether I want them by SMS or phone, if I want them by digest. So again, this is highly dependent on what's allowed in your ILS, but it is a way that patrons can personalize Aspen. And then the last one that I want to show you is really exciting to me. So we've talked a couple different times today about languages and being able to customize the Aspen experience for depending on what your native language is. Within my preferences in Aspen, now I'm set to display the catalog in English, and you can always switch to English to Spanish up here. But if I switch to Spanish, what this is saying, if you don't read Spanish, is show me the titles in Spanish above other results. So you're essentially customizing the search results of Aspen based on your native language. You have a couple of other options. You can have it work the way it normally works, which is, I think, the top one. And then the bottom one is only show me materials in Spanish. So if you only speak Spanish and everything else is just, it's not going to be useful to you, you could limit the catalog in that way. But I'm going to say, promote those Spanish materials for me. Click save down here. I'm going to do this Harry Potter search again. And then what you see immediately is that we saw the Harry Potter results earlier, and these were all the English results. And now you are getting the Spanish results at the top based on the language of the catalog for me. Whew. So that was a lot of examples. That was a lot of customization. That was a lot of personalization. I would just like to open it up right now for questions.
So, Jordan, we do have a few. So on the customizations, can the administrator designate different roles for different individuals? If it's a single library, consortium library, can you kind of expand on?
Yes, absolutely. So there are many, many, many roles within Aspen, and it's also customizable per user interface. So you can have someone, if you're a consortium and you have multiple branches, you can give a person permission to only adjust the colors for their branch, or only do those customizations for their branch. If you have someone that's really great at marketing and colors, but you don't want them touching any of the other settings, you can give them the permission to touch the colors, but not necessarily any of the other admin things. So that's also great. That same applies for translations. And that's one that's commonly given. You only give somebody translation permissions because they're going through and translating the catalog.
Great. So another one, does the discovery layer have ADA compliant features?
Yes, WCAG 2.0, you could see some of the when we were doing the color customization, how you could see it showed green right there. So we release new features every month. We strive to be 100% compliant. If we find a way that we're not 100% compliant, then we try to fix that very quickly.
And have there been, there's been tests done also on ADA compliance, right, with member libraries?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me, Bill. Yes. So on actually, they, I think every 6 months to a year, we'll go through and look at everything and report to us if anything's out of compliance.
Can the browse categories and lists be added to your website?
Yes. So we do have a feature called Collection Spotlights that creates carousels, and there are several different configurations of those carousels. We were really focused, and you could hear how much we were trying to get into a half an hour today on the discovery interface yourself, but a lot of these same features carry over to Aspen Lita. And then things like spotlights can go on your website to show off all the different browse categories and sub-browse categories.
Excellent. And then does the discovery layer integrate with outside services like Goodreads, Syndetics, Content Cafe, those types?
Yes, it integrates with all of them that you mentioned. And it depends on what those services offer. If there's a new service that looks like it would be useful to Aspen Discovery, you could see within our goals, we try to prioritize integrations to make sure that you can offer we consider that part of the content, right? Book covers, reviews from different places. So we want to integrate that as well.
Excellent. I don't see any more. Cal or Jesse, do y'all see any more questions we might have? They're shaking their head no.
That's it.
And if y'all have any y'all want to add in the chat, please do. All right, that may be it.
All right. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for the personalization of Aspen Discovery. If you have any questions, you can reach out to any one of us on the team here. If you're interested in getting started with Aspen Discovery, Bill will be able to get you started and set you up with a webinar. So thank you again, Jordan and Bill and Cal. And if there's any other questions, please just let us know. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.